How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
All right. So I have a couple of things. First off, throughout history, we've noticed that Western society was a lot more less developed whenever women did not have rights compared to now that women do have rights. They are inventing things such as Ada Lovelace and coding and computers. And so how would you think life would be if we never got those rights and those things were never invented?
We'd be a better society, probably.
And why is that?
Well, we would have more nuclear families. We wouldn't have feminists. We wouldn't have strange progressive women that color their hair. We would just basically be better off as a society.
So you would be better with no income?
I find it interesting that like women will name like one or two inventions that they've made, but almost everything that we enjoy in modernity was made by men. Men are like 90% plus of the inventors. If we had to rely on female ingenuity, we'd probably still be rubbing sticks together.
Okay. So a second one for you. What about majority of education professionals being women? So we are not only cultivating the young minds, but we are also fostering care and kindness in them.
Well, that's precisely why college is a joke now. As someone who graduated from college myself from a good school, the education system and academia in general has just become, a libtard fest where people are operating not on reality and thinking that there's 99 genders and, this woke ideology, and it's kind of like the battlegrounds for that. So the universities have morphed from a place where you can get a higher education, become more intelligent, and get a job into the real world versus, just pushing a political agenda. And this is why women are starting to dominate men in college attendance, because men are kind of catching on that college is a scam in most cases.
Just to clarify, I wasn't speaking specifically of college educators. I meant more of your public school system educators, so your K through 12 and things like that.
Sure. So what's your particular question?
Majority of those people that work in those education fields are women. So we are the ones that spend majority of the time with the children. And we are the ones cultivating their minds, making sure they're educated and they're kind people. So how do you think that would be if we didn't have rights to teach?
Well, again, you guys are able to do that because men have stabilized and civilized the world for you to be able to do that.
But that's not, okay. So if we were to obey a man, then theoretically...
Within a relationship.
Within a relationship.
I'm speaking specifically, like, if you're in a relationship together, it's the woman's job to obey her man.
Why? Why not the other way around? Who says what? You?
Well, because women can't lead anything. The only thing they can lead is to the end of the relationship. It simply doesn't work when women are in the power position in a relationship because women don't respect weak men that lead them, that they're leading.
Okay, no, a woman's not going to respect a weak man, but if they're both equals, then there will be mutual respect between both of them. And
but that's the problem. Men and women are not equal.
How? We're the ones that give you life. Why is there no respect for that?
Well, actually, technically, we put our semen into you, and that's what creates life, not you guys. You guys just incubate.
Actually, semen can be performed and created in a lab, so we don't even need you anymore. Thank you.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Look at that. We could be in a lab.
Hi.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
A little bit. You might have to move the mic down for her, guys.
No, I got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's all the way down. Damn. The struggles of being 5 foot, nothing. Anyway, what's your name?
Myron, nice to meet you.
Byron? Okay, cool.
Myron, yeah.
What is? Sorry.
Myron.
Myron, gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What's your name?
Ozzy.
Okay. How are you,
sorry.
Ozzy?
I have no clue who you are. So this
No
is
problem.
very interesting. So I have a couple of questions for you.
Sure.
I noticed that you keep up bringing up the nuclear family,
Yeah.
right? And, you put that on a pillar and that, you value it highly. That as well as, the patriarchy. And you talk about how this is, a good thing and it, benefits you and, I guess, women as well. And so on the patriarchy, I specifically wanted to ask you, how do you feel about the, negative implications and just, actual effects of it, both on men and, well, just mostly men?
The patriarchy?
Yes, sir.
So, okay, are you talking from the sense of, from a modernity sense of today, or are you talking about, before?
No, literally today.
Literally
So,
today.
Yeah, and, well, I guess we could also visit, you talk about how, the nuclear family and when that was at the height was, I think, was it before World War? It was, before and, during, the World Wars, that kind of 1950s era.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I'm just trying to understand your question specifically.
Yeah, so you talk about valuing the nuclear family, and I'm trying to ask you why. So, like, if you
Why?
can, like,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
very
Yeah, so the
clearly
reason
just
why is
explain
because
that.
children are the future. And in order to raise children properly, you need a mom and a dad, right? You need that balance. So, and that can only really be done in a nuclear family. This is why I'm not a fan of gays adopting or lesbians adopting. I think, the child needs to have a strong father and a mother in the household, for the best chance at being a productive member of society. That's why the nuclear family is so important, because our future is built on that, which are the children.
Okay. You gotta stop with the bazinga. And then going to the patriarchy.
The patriarchy, okay?
Yeah.
What about it?
So you're talking about how, like, you value it and you find it good that men are then forced to go out and do these things. So you're talking about kind of like the men's rights issues, right?
Yes, I think there's a burden of performance on us. And I think that's something to embrace and rise to versus trying to be equal to women.
Okay, so you believe that men should not have a choice.
As far as in what regard? Working?
Not just working, but just style of life and, like, so taking away that choice from men and just generally from people of, like, their direction in life.
I think every guy should be prioritizing, whether they're building themselves up to eventually have a family, right? I understand that, for men, it takes time for us to acquire our value versus women kind of have the value up front. But I do think that every guy should be striving to become successful so that eventually a family will be dependent upon him.
Okay. I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, I don't think women should be working. I think they should be prioritizing motherhood, not jobs.
So then so taking our society and the amount of people that it takes to run a fully functioning, well-endowed society, that takes people of all kinds of creed, right?
Sure.
So when you take away that matter of choice from both men and women and everyone in between, why do you then believe that will be a better society?
Well, the thing is this, right? So you're mentioning this thing about choice, and I think that's an illusion, right? And we need to be honest here when it comes to women pursuing education and a career. What we tell them is, hey, look, go get a job, make money, enter the workforce, and then you can have a family at the end of that. And what ends up happening a lot of times is women follow this route, get an education, get money, get a job, get a good career, and then when they try to find a guy at the end of that, it becomes significantly harder. Because what's ended up happening is the woman has risen up in status, risen up in her income, and her standards are higher, so a lot of guys aren't going to qualify. And I think if we were honest with women and told them, look, if you pursue a career, there's a very good chance that you might not get your first choice. I think that's a good starting point. Obviously, we can't just say, take all the jobs and that's it. But I think we need to start being more honest with women and letting them understand that you got to pick one. You can't really have it all. And this is something that we've been lying to women about for decades, that they can have it all. And then they end up at 31 years old, unmarried, no kids, wondering why guys don't take them seriously. But it's because they didn't know the truth about this stuff.
So then how do you feel about the same thing, but then happening towards men? Like,
in what regard?
Take you, for example. You say that you have, I think you mentioned you have an open relationship, but specifically on your end.
Only on my end, yeah.
So you take the nuclear family, which is a loyal and faithful husband.
Only women could be sluts. We are the slut makers. This girl's over here trying to call me a slut. Hey, we're the slut makers, man. There's no such thing as a man that's a slut.
May I continue?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. So you're talking about how you have an open relationship. So you have the nuclear family.
Yep.
The stereotypical nuclear family is a loyal working husband who goes to the office or whatever, makes money, comes home to his wife, provides for his wife, takes care of his wife. You value highly the nuclear family, but you yourself are not taking a part of it. Why is that?
Well, I have a certain goal that I want to hit financially before I, go ahead and have a family. I have some business aspirations, and I want to make sure I get that out of the way so that when it is time to be a father, I can focus 100% on that and not necessarily be as tied up with work. So and that's kind of one of the, the good things about being a man is that though we are not born with value, if we work hard enough, we can create value, and that gives us a bit more time on the time clock. Versus for women, they have a fairly finite amount of time to be able to build a family. So for me, I'm focused on hitting a certain financial goal first so that when I do have my children, money never becomes a problem again.
But you talk about how women are born with an inherent value.
Yes.
I would differ that men are as well. And what you are doing, so the nuclear family, part of men's value comes from being loyal and being hardworking. And I feel like when you miss half of that, like what you're doing, you are then degrading harming, degrading, thank you, whoever said that, the nuclear family and the idea of this. Because you take this very almost shallow and kind of hollow, because every person has issues, and the nuclear family is by no means perfect. And you are then kind of showing the issues with it by your own actions and by your own kind of disregard for.
Well, my thing is, I think, again, I teach guys, hey, look, this is what you need to do, right? This is how you become attractive, get your life together. Now, when I arm guys with these tools, what they choose to do it is up to them. If they want to go ahead and have a family immediately, that's fine. If they want to go ahead and play the field, that's fine. But my thing is, I want men to be in a position. The problem is that a lot of guys are in a relationship where their woman controls everything. She's making the decisions. She's bossing him around. There's no leadership there. I want the guy to be in a position where he can kind of dictate the terms. And if he decides, look, I want a family and I want to have a family early, I want him to do that through choice, not through necessity. A lot of guys are monogamous or in a relationship through necessity, not because they want to be. So I just want guys to be able to have that choice. That's the big thing. And then eventually, obviously, work towards a family. But I think the other thing, too, that's important is that men have to understand how modern women work.
4 minutes in the event. Thank you. My last question here is,
Sure.
What's your goal with coming out to this college campus where you have all of these people who very obviously are heckling you and do not want you to be here? What's your goal? Because obviously you're not really going to change people's minds with some of the more hateful messages that you're portraying. Like, why are you here?
To start a revolution, to tell people the truth, something that's been missing for a very long time. Hey, white knighting the girls isn't going to get you laid, right? Doesn't work.